Welcome to episode number 423 of Get Paid for Your Pad. We are your hosts, Jasper Rivers and Eric D. Miller. Eric, what is up?
That's right. What's up, buddy? Good seeing you, man. Big news today.
Big news today. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it because there's a couple updates that came out of the Airbnb Winter Release that I'm super excited about. So we'll dive into that in a second here. But before I get into that, I just want to say thank you for everybody who has left us a review, especially on the Apple podcast, because we're noticing that as we're getting more reviews in, the readership or the listenership, I should say, is increasing. We're seeing more and more downloads, which is awesome. That means that this our message of connecting the world through short-term rentals is spreading, which is absolutely awesome. So I want to thank everybody. And if you haven't left a review yet, please do so wherever you listen to the podcast. But in particular, if you listen on the Apple podcast, we would love a quick review from you.
That's
all right. Well, let's dive into it, Eric.
Let's go, bro.
There's some big updates. I'm super
That's
excited.
Right.
Really excited about these updates.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch the video from Brian?
I did, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but he featured one of our good friends in the video, Miss Christy with the Idaho Potato Hotel, which I had the opportunity to stay a night there, which was really freaking cool. So that was awesome, man. I love the fact that Airbnb is still really pushing these unique experiences.
Yeah, 100%. That's funny because you remember the last time there was a big update in May?
Yeah.
In that video, Chesky featured a castle that I stayed at in Spain.
That's right.
So
Brian
I think I think he's
us.
tracking us and he's looking at us and checking out where we are staying, and then he keeps featuring those units. So
that's right. He's like, these guys know Airbnb. Let's feature them. So tell everybody what happened. What are we talking about? What are the updates that Airbnb just announced?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I was a bit surprised. Did you know they were coming out with these updates?
No, it was a bit shocking to see. I know a couple of the legends announced it, or they mentioned it a couple of days ago when Airbnb announced that it was coming out. So yeah, I was excited to see it. They're moving fast. That's one thing I'm noticing with Airbnb is they're moving fast with updates and just really trying to stay ahead of the curve with this new travel demand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I was surprised when I first heard a couple of days ago. I heard that they were coming out with another release. The reason I was surprised is because it's not that long ago that they did this big update in May where they implemented like over 100 things. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that they're releasing their second big update in 2021. And there's a couple of things I'm really excited about, but I'd say, let's just, there's over 50, so we're not going to get into everything, but I'd say one of the bigger ones is they're introducing a new host guarantee program, right? So just a bit of background. Airbnb has always had the host guarantee where you're covered up to $1 million liability and $1 million in damages, but they have now introduced a new program called AirCover, where they are not just covering the liability and the damage, they also cover pet damage, because the old policy didn't cover that. They cover deep cleaning protection. So if we run into extra costs when it comes to cleaning, they're going to cover that. Income loss protection, that's a big one. I've heard a lot of hosts complain about that, where they were saying, hey, my place is damaged, I can't rent it out for a month. Airbnb reimburses me for the damage, but I'm out of income for a month, right? So they definitely listen to the community here, I think. But I think the biggest improvement when it comes to AirCover versus the host guarantee is they now have a 14-day filing window.
Right. Huge.
That was one of the most ridiculous things I thought about the Airbnb platform, was that for the host guarantee, you had to submit your evidence before the next check-in.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, can you imagine
Impossible.
someone's checking out at 11 a.m. and the place is destroyed, and now the next guest checks in at 4 p.m. and not only do you have to like get the place ready, but also you have to gather all the evidence because after 4 p.m. you're too late.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like I was really surprised by that because that was we always looked at the $1 million coverage as more of a marketing tool than actual coverage. You know, like from even myself, I've never had Airbnb pay me out anything on the challenges I've had. We just went straight to the insurance company because we knew that going through Airbnb was such a challenge that we just put our claims in through insurance. So I always looked at that Airbnb coverage as more of a marketing tool on their behalf. But I'm really curious. I'm curious to, like talk to the actual insurance companies, like proper insurance, and see like, hey, is this a real policy? Are they truly paying out? Or are they going to make it as difficult as they did in the past? But they added some really cool things in there, pet coverage as well, which I thought was really cool. And then they're also saying that they're making it easier to release the funds, right, or release the claim. So we'll see, man. I think it's huge. Airbnb is definitely. It seems like they're listening to the host and really adjusting post COVID pandemic.
Yeah. I think so too. Because I mean, you're right. You're not the only one who wasn't really taking the host guarantee serious. I think everybody kind of realized that it wasn't real insurance, and people were always looking at other ways to protect themselves. But I think they're really making a shift here, because not only the filing window is being extended, they're also going for quicker reimbursements. They're saying 9 days on average. And they opened up a dedicated support line with priority routing for superhosts. So, like you said, I think they heard the criticism from the host community, which, in my opinion, was valid. The criticism was absolutely valid. So,
Sure.
So yeah, I think they're really listening. They're listening to us. That's good to know, huh?
Yeah, they're tuning into this podcast. They're like, now we know how to improve Airbnb by the Get Paid for Your Pad podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What else did you notice that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of updates on the platform on the guest side. So you know how half a year ago they introduced the I'm flexible search option, right? That's being used so much that they now introduced a I'm very flexible option, where you can literally, like, you can search for you can basically say like, hey, I'm flexible in the next 12 months. I want to go somewhere. I want to go to a cool place.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. He showed that you can book out, or at least see out 12 months in advance in that feature. So I'm curious if that's going to change booking windows for Airbnb hosts, right? Like for us, we try not to book out too far in advance, right? 3 to 6 months max. But now, is this actually pushing us to have a calendar open for 12 months?
Yeah.
And will the algorithm actually favor that? And now we're going into like revenue management and how that's going to work. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I've noticed, just looking at our own properties, I've noticed that we've gotten a lot of bookings for November and December, but we haven't gotten a lot of bookings for January and February yet. So at least in our market, I feel like people are still not really booking too far into the future. So I'm curious to see if that changes. I have a feeling that people are still a bit cautious. Just recently as well, I think I hear a lot of people talking about how there's, COVID cases are on the rise in different places. And, like they're talking about like people need like the third shot for the vaccines and stuff. And so I don't know, man, like I feel like there's still quite a lot of insecurity and uncertainty.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Where I live in San Diego, it's like, man, that stuff's just not even relevant anymore. Like we're living in a different world down here. But I was up in LA, passing through LA, and we stopped off there and recognized like, oh, it's really impacting those bigger cities. So yeah, it could be, man. Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure what 2022 is going to really bring us on a global pandemic level and how that's going to impact travel. But Airbnb seems to be pretty bullish on the fact that people are willing to book out and be flexible in advance. And then outside of that, yeah, we're not getting a lot of bookings right now, at least in the new year for individual stays, but we're getting a lot of requests for events at our property, right? So people who want to rent the entire village and put on, a small wedding, family gathering, whatever that is, we get a lot of those requests in a year from now.
That's true.
A year in advance. So that stuff is coming in, and people are comfortable doing longer stays or booking out in longer in advance for bigger stays, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. And I think a lot of people have postponed their weddings, right? So anybody who has a space that could be used as a wedding venue, that's definitely something that you might want to look into, because people are paying pretty hefty fees, right, to have their weddings at a property.
Yeah, I think so many people pushed off their weddings and parties and all that stuff, and now they're feeling comfortable doing it. It's really hard for them to find a place, and now they're booking like crazy. So it's a big opportunity for hosts who can accommodate those stays.
Yeah, for sure, and who have a license, right? Some places you got to have a license for that stuff.
That's right, which we're learning.
Yeah, man. So some other updates on the usability side. It's going to be easier for people with a disability to find accessibility friendly listings. I
thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool feature because it's really. That's something that has been a major request for a lot of our urban properties back in the day. And we never really had a way to communicate which properties were handicap accessible or not. So yeah, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And they already made some changes in the last update as well. But now they're really making it a lot easier for hosts to indicate, like, there's 13 different boxes that you can tick. And one of our students actually in Legends X, Margie, she has a unit where she's really focusing on that. So that could become an interesting niche market as well.
I agree. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're adding that. It's the amount of stairs, if there's a wheelchair accessible, the size of doors, handrails, all of that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They're making Airbnb literally a place for everybody now, which I think is pretty awesome. I did see also that they added a update to becoming a host. So actually setting up a property and becoming a host on the platform. They're saying 10 easy steps. But it's just, man, it's incredible just going through their platform and signing up. They're just this is what I love about Airbnb. Yes, I love the short-term rental industry, but what Airbnb is doing is making it so freaking easy for anybody to become a business owner right away. 10 steps, 100%. You can have a property up and start generating cash flow in a few hours, right? It's pretty nuts.
No, man, 100%. I mean, that's why I was attracted to Airbnb back in 2012 when I started, because I looked at some other websites too, and it just looked like so complicated and clunky. And Airbnb just they made it so simple, and it's a lot more easy now as well. Because if you look back at the old website, if you look at it with today's eyes, it looks so old school. But it was so innovative, when they came out with it.
But dude, even trying to get, and everybody knows this who have tried all the different OTAs, but even still to this day, as much as I love our friends over at booking.com, trying to get set up on their platform compared to Airbnb, still to this day, it's so freaking painful. And I just think Airbnb is just going to continue to create that divide, or what we say is like the be better than the gap between what they do and their competitors. It's pretty damn incredible. So super excited about that. I know they did another update that you're going to be, as soon as I saw it in the video, I'm like, oh, Jasper's going to freaking love this thing. You know what I'm referring to?
The verified Wi-Fi.
That's right, man. I'm like, dude, this is exactly it. You know what's cool about Airbnb is like they see what hosts are using and all these extra little tools that they're using to get more bookings on in their properties. And Wi-Fi is always the number one challenge, and it's always the number one question we get on our properties. And we teach our students in Legends X, and you know, we talk about this all the time, is like to have a picture of your Wi-Fi in the top 5 photos of your listings, right? And the problem that we have is like, man, these photos are so ugly to show the you know, the speed of your internet. They're not attractive. So I freaking love that they have that built in where they so for everyone who's not who's unaware of this, Airbnb installed a new plugin into their app where you can verify the speed. They actually do a speed test in the app, and then you can share that and verify it on your listing, which I thought was freaking amazing. So that's really going to kind of separate everyone, you know, that's going to separate the like in the market that we're in, the competitors that we have, Airbnb competitors that we have. There's a lot of people that just really try to put the cheapest things in their properties just to get heads and beds. And like, okay, what's the cheapest internet I can get in here just to have it, right? That's really going to separate the pack, especially if you look at the speeds that we have in our properties, right? Which is like commercial grade, insane internet. It's faster than the internet at my own house, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I love that feature.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been a long time coming. I mean, you know, like they should have had this a couple of years ago, if you ask me. But obviously, there's a lot of stuff that they get requests for, and they're updating a lot. So you know, let's give them some credit. But I got to go back and update all my blog posts and like all the content, because I've been screaming this for years for everybody to put those screenshots, and now we all have to take them down and just use the Airbnb functionality for it.
Hey man, it's awesome. I love that they put that there. The other ones, by the way, for all the listeners who haven't seen, if you want to see the full list, there's over 100 updates here, which is pretty cool. Just go to airbnb.com/2021, and you'll be able to see everything that they put there. So we're kind of just going through our favorite ones here. A couple more that I wanted to pick out that I thought were really interesting, and I'm really curious how this is going to impact the welcome guide companies and services that are out there, right? So like Airbnb, and I'm not sure what it looks like yet because I haven't tested it yet, but number 5 and number 6 updates on the website is arrival guides and then faster checkout processing. So they've updated arrival guides in the actual app to make it easier for guests to understand all the data, the information that they need for their check-in. So I'm really curious how that's going to impact, you know, companies that are specializing in guest books, right? Because I think, you know, honestly, man, like I think it's getting to a point where guests just want to know the info about the property, Wi-Fi, where to find what, when to check in, when to check out, stuff like that, directions. Then they're going to just go on Google and Yelp and try to find their own restaurants and things like that they're attracted to, right? So I'm just really curious how that's going to impact it. So I think that's really awesome. And then also number 6, the faster checkout process. I'm really curious to see how that streamlines the checkout and how that also streamlines the 5-star reviews.
So wait, which list are you looking at? Because I don't see those updates.
Ooh.
Are you looking at 2021 or 2021-winter?
Ooh, I'm looking at the wrong one, huh?
You're looking at the one from a half year ago.
That's right. There we go. Okay, so 2021-winter.
So should we just cut that out, or?
Well, now that you're talking about cutting it out,
I think we can just cut that out, you know?
Okay, let's do that.
So why don't you start again and just go like, hey, and if you're listening, if you want to check out these updates, go to airbnb.com 2021. That's winter.
Yeah, guys. So if you're listening, and you want to see the full updates, there is over 50 updates here. Just go to airbnb.com/2021-winter, and you'll be able to see the not only the announcement video from Brian, but you'll be able to go through every single one that they have. Jasper and I are just kind of picking out the top ones that we see as the biggest benefits, the ones that are sticking out the most to us.
That's right. That's right. And you guessed correctly that I'm most excited about the Wi-Fi tool. But let me ask you a question. There's one more that I'm really excited about. Can you guess what that one is?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's the Superhost expansion one.
No. I'm really excited about the option that we have now to add a pet fee to our daily rates.
Ooh, I didn't even know that one. Okay, that's interesting. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden. It's not one that they really focused on in the update. But I think that's a big one because there's a lot of people that are traveling with their pets right now, and it's just such a hassle, like to charge a pet fee. Because you have to first the guest book, and then you have to tell them that they have to pay extra for the pet fee, and you have to request the money for Airbnb or take some cash, or I mean, that's the reason that we haven't started charging for pets yet, because I was like, that's just such a hassle right now. But with this new functionality, you can just put it on your Airbnb listing.
Yeah, I would say like 50% of our booking requests ask about pets at this point, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I was talking. It's funny because there's a new cafe that opened up on my building here in Panama, and it's a really awesome cafe. It's a work cafe that's also pet friendly. And I was talking to the owner about this, and the reason why he opened up a pet friendly cafe was he was telling me that so many people have a pet now. And people are so much more attached to their pets because they've been in lockdown with their pet for like a year and a half, So people just got really attached to their pets, and I think that's really true. I mean, and we are seeing that for sure.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. I love the fact that we could upsell that essentially. And then we also have the coverage through Airbnb for the pet damage. So yeah, definitely add those in there. We just got to figure that out on our side too, right? As far as like, I think there's we used to do this. We used to have a handful of properties that we allowed pets, and most of our properties we just did not. But now it's like, I think all of our properties we should allow pets. And then we just have to figure out the actual pricing that goes into it. A couple other ones just to go into this that I think are really powerful for the future of like hosting and scaling our businesses is they're allowing short stay cleaning fees. So essentially you can offer lower cleaning fees now for 1 and 2 night stays. I see a lot. I see this happening a lot where, it's for longer stays, we have bigger cleaning costs that go into it because we're cleaning the entire property. For example, we had somebody who just called us who was looking for a 1 night stay at the village. They're called PCT. Yeah. PCT hikers. So there's a big hiking trail that goes throughout the whole country that goes through Ottawild. So we get a lot of travelers that come through there, and she contacted us asking for a 1 night stay, but she's like, hey, can you reduce your cleaning fee? Cause it's just me and we're just staying. I'm just staying for the night and I'm going to head out. And this was prior to the updates coming out, or at least me learning this. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That's our fee. Like, that's what we pay out. And there's not too much there. So it's interesting that they have this in there because that will, if you're willing to take on 1 or 2 night stays, that will actually open up an opportunity for you to fill in gaps, right? Without having to charge these massive cleaning fees, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you have a pretty high cleaning fee, then for 1 night stays, it's kind of crazy the price, right? I mean, the cleaning fee pretty much doubles the nightly rate. So yeah, I agree. I think that's powerful as well. And then I would say one more feature that I think is really interesting as well is the translation engine.
That was awesome. That was
Yeah.
awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, because I think that's well, I've traveled to a lot of countries where they have different languages, and that's something that I personally experienced where it was that Google you had to press that button right to translate the listing, and just like Brian was showing he showed a pretty funny example.
Yeah.
But I've definitely had challenges with that, traveling to different countries. So yeah, I think that's awesome that they've upgraded the translation engine.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's just continuing to allow people to really experience different cultures and feel comfortable traveling. And I love the fact that it also translates the reviews, because that was one of my challenges of traveling internationally is not being able to truly understand the reviews, the guest reviews of properties I wanted to stay at. So I love the fact that it just completely translates the entire page, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, man, they're doing a great job. I love it. I love what they're doing. I'm curious to see how this really impacts our properties and just hosting in general. A couple other things that popped out to me is that he was saying that it's easier. They're making it easier for hosts to become super hosts now, which I'm curious. He didn't go into too much detail about it, but I'm curious to see what that's all about. And some additional support for super hosts. And I don't know if you noticed this too, but they also added a couple of more categories for properties. But one that really stuck out to me, which I'm super excited about, is the Lux category. For selfish reasons, it's going to help us find properties to stay at for legends and masterminds, because those things are freaking difficult to find. And, I'm excited that Airbnb is really bringing that into their properties, into the experience.
Yeah, 100%. And, just kind of high level, you were saying earlier, like how cool it is that Airbnb is coming out with their second update. They're moving so fast. And it actually made me think, like, do you remember when Booking.com or VRBO or Expedia came out with such a big update to their platform?
No,
I can't think of a single time. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, they're just not so like Airbnb, they understand obviously they're incredible at design, they're incredible at creating community, they're incredible at implementing these changes because they're more of a tech company than what these other OTAs are, right? They're approaching it as a tech firm, but they're incredible at marketing, truly incredible at marketing. And I think like all of that just makes such a big difference and really creates that gap between them and their competitors. So I'm sure Booking and Vrbo, like even when Vrbo went from VRBO and HomeAway to Vrbo, I mean, I didn't know about that until people just started using the phrase Vrbo, and it still is not embedded in my brain to say Vrbo. I know it as VRBO, but they did not take the approach. Well, let me correct myself. I've seen commercials of them saying we're now Vrbo, stuff like that. But it's like Airbnb just does a tremendous job at marketing their updates and what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they also excel at, creating community.
Yeah.
Right. Much better than any of those other companies. And also, Airbnb is one of the few companies that has managed to where the brand becomes the category, right? Like you're saying like, oh, I'm staying in an Airbnb, even if you might have booked it on booking.com. Like people still say, oh, I stayed at an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Just like Google and like, there's a handful of those companies who've achieved to do that. So I think, I just think they're so far ahead when it comes to innovation and the community side and listening to their hosts. They have the host advisory boards. I actually heard about this update a couple of days ago from our one of our students, Omar in Mexico, who I'm going to stay with him in the first week of December. Yeah, Mexico City.
Nice.
I already booked this place.
That's amazing.
Which is awesome. So shout out to Omar, but Omar is part of the host advisory board. So he's actually on meetings with Brian Chesky,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How do you get that hookup?
Yeah. I mean, he's been recognized as one of the best hosts in Mexico. Like, obviously, he went through our program, so he knows what he's doing.
That's right.
But yeah,
all the credit to us, like. That's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that for Omar. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's it, man. I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot of updates, right? So go check it out, Airbnb.com, 2021-winter. And if we look at how many updates they've come out with this year, I'm curious to know where they're going to go in 2022.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, they've close to 200 updates this year, which is not freaking easy, man. So yeah, it's awesome. And then for the listeners too, I'd love to hear how you're implementing this and how it's impacting your business. So, definitely, either leave it in a review here of how it's impacting, or, share it on social media and tag us in it. We're really curious to see how, how all these updates are affecting you, good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And if you're on our email list, the best way to get in touch with us is just respond to our emails, right? We've recently started, one day you're sending an email, one day I'm sending an email, but we love hearing from our listeners, from our readers. So if you're not on our email list yet, just go to getpaidforyourpet.com and you can get some cool resources if you leave your email address. And then that's the easiest way to communicate with us as well.
Yep. Join the list.
All right, man. So yeah, my last question for you is, when are you going to Idlewild so we can get the Wi-Fi speed, verified Wi-Fi?
It's on the list, man. Hopefully next week. Yeah, next week I'll be up there. So we're gonna start implementing a lot of this, a lot of these updates and getting that ugly photo off of our listing.
Yeah, that was so funny when you went through the listings and you reached out to me and you're like, man, this Wi-Fi speed thing is so ugly.
It's terrible. We use so many different websites to verify the speed, and it's just like, I understand like why it's so important to put it in there, but it's like when you create a listing, I spent the time to like put together all the photos on the listings. When you create these listings, you want to tell a story and create a vibe, create a feeling through the photos, right? Because it's the very first thing that people look at, right? And if they're all over the place, the colors are off, stuff like that, people actually feel it. And that's when you X out and look for another one, right? And for our properties, like I was trying to tell a story through the photos and create a certain type of vibe with the photos. And then it just comes up on this like ugly blue, lots of like lines and numbers and all this stuff for the Wi-Fi. I'm like, man, this just kind of ruins the experience. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Next week, we'll start implementing all this.
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah. And if you want to check out our listings, by the way, we should get one of those customized URLs so that we can easily share our listings, right? But yeah, you can also go to strawberrycreekvillage.com, and then the listings are actually linked up on the website. So, and by the way, you did a pretty good job, I thought, with the reorganizing those photos and stuff.
Yeah, we're limited. Don't judge us as of right now on those listings, because we did move really, really quick to get those up and going. And we were kind of, we're using all the photos and information that we had from the previous owner. So we're kind of limited on the photos. But yeah, I thought they came out pretty good. So we're going to use those until we do the renovations and then the upgrades to the project. So yeah. And then for anyone who's interested in following our journey on that, we just hired an architect on that, just started the the due diligence process on building an additional 10 to 15 cabins on this property, which is going to be super freaking fun. So yeah, anybody who's interested in that, obviously subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and then sign up for our email list. I would say that's the best route.
That's right. And then leave us a review for the podcast as well.
Do it.
Get more listeners. Yes. More listeners. Awesome, man. Yeah, that's it. Any final thoughts?
That's it, y'all. Let's have fun. Let's get some more properties up. Let's create some more experiences and continue to connect the world through our experiences.
That's right. So, Eric, thank you for your time. And listeners, thanks for listening. And we'll be back on Monday with another podcast. So we'll see you then. Peace. Boom.